October the 14th, 1962, a U-2 spy plane flies over Cuba. The photos it takes will change history. For the next 13 days, the world holds its breath. This is the story of the most dangerous moment in human history, and the secret deals, close calls, and near misses that almost ended civilization. October the 14th, the U-2 piloted by Major Richard Hazer captures images of Soviet nuclear missile sites under construction in Cuba, just 90 miles from Florida. By October the 16th, President Kennedy knows the truth. He creates a secret team of advisors called the XCOM to decide what to do. The Hawks want an immediate airstrike. The Doves want diplomacy. Kennedy chooses a middle path, a naval blockade, but he calls it a quarantine, a legal loophole to avoid declaring war. October the 22nd, Kennedy goes on national television. He reveals the missiles to the American people. He announces the blockade. U.S. forces go to DEFCON 3, one step away from nuclear war. Soviet ships are already steaming toward Cuba. The world watches. Kennedy's message is clear. Any nuclear launch from Cuba will be treated as an attack by the Soviet Union itself, requiring a full retaliation. The line is drawn. October the 24th. 20 Soviet ships approach the blockade line. The U.S. Navy is ready to stop them. Then, at the last moment, the ships stop. Some turn back. The world exhales, but the danger hasn't passed, because the real threat is underwater. Deep beneath the Atlantic, a Soviet submarine named B-59 is surrounded by U.S. destroyers. The crew has lost radio contact with Moscow. They have no idea if war has already started. The Americans drop practice depth charges, loud but not deadly, to force the sub to surface. But inside B-59, the crew doesn't know their practice rounds. The captain believes World War III has begun. He orders a nuclear torpedo prepared. Only one officer refuses to approve the launch. That story, the man who said no, is so powerful that I made a full video about it. You can watch it after this one, but for now, know this: the torpedo never fired. The submarine surfaced. The war did not start. October the 27th, the worst day, a U.S. U-2 spy plane piloted by Major Rudolph Anderson is shot down over Cuba by a Soviet surface-to-air missile. Anderson becomes the only American combat death of the entire crisis. Kennedy's advisors demand retaliation, airstrikes, invasion, but Kennedy hesitates. He says, "I don't want this to be the first thing we do." Meanwhile, Khrushchev sends 2 letters. One is emotional, offering to remove the missiles if the U.S. promises not to invade Cuba. The other is tough, demanding the U.S. also remove its missiles from Turkey. Kennedy is in a bind. He can't publicly abandon NATO allies, but he also can't risk nuclear war, so he makes a secret deal. Kennedy ignores the tough letter publicly, but privately, through his brother Robert, he agrees to remove U.S. Jupiter missiles from Turkey, quietly, over 6 months. In exchange, Khrushchev will remove the Cuban missiles. The deal is so sensitive that it remains hidden from the American public for 25 years. Even Vice President Lyndon Johnson didn't know. It's the secret handshake that saved the world. October the 28th. Khrushchev announces on Radio Moscow that the Soviet Union will dismantle the Cuban missiles. The crisis is over, but here's what most people don't know. Soviet tactical nuclear weapons remained on Cuba for another 2 months. And Fidel Castro was furious. He felt betrayed by Khrushchev. Castro even wrote to Khrushchev, urging him to launch a nuclear first strike against the United States. Khrushchev was horrified. He rejected Castro outright. The world came closer to nuclear war than anyone realized, and not just because of Kennedy and Khrushchev. The 13 days of October 1962 were the closest the world has ever come to nuclear annihilation. A miscommunication, a panicked commander, a secret deal, a rogue ally. Any one of these could have triggered World War III, but they didn't, because at the last moment, someone, or multiple someones, chose restraint. Kennedy chose to negotiate instead of bomb. Khrushchev chose to back down, and a Soviet submarine officer named Vasili Arkhipov chose to say no. If you want to hear the full story of that submarine, the man who single-handedly prevented a nuclear launch, click the screen now. I made a separate video just about him, and if you want more untold Cold War stories, hit subscribe. This is the Gridded War. See you in the next one.
October 14th, 1962. A U-2 spy plane flies over Cuba. The photos it takes will change history. For the next 13 days, the world holds its breath. What you're about to hear is not the standard Cold War summary. This is the story of the submarine that almost ended the world, and the one man who said no. October 16th. President Kennedy learns the truth. Soviet nuclear missiles are in Cuba, just 90 miles from Florida. October 22nd. Kennedy announces a naval blockade. U.S. forces go to DEFCON 3, one step away from nuclear war. October 24th. 20 Soviet ships approaching the blockade line turn back at the last second. The world breathes, but only for a moment, because the real danger is underwater. Deep beneath the Atlantic, a Soviet submarine named B-59 is running silent. It carries a weapon that could end civilization. A T-5 nuclear torpedo. 10 kilotons, the same explosive power as the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. And it can be launched without asking Moscow for permission. But here's what the US Navy doesn't know. They think B-59 is a normal submarine. They are wrong. October 27th, the most dangerous day in human history. 11 US destroyers surround B-59. They drop practice depth charges, loud but not deadly, to force the sub to surface. But inside B-59, the crew doesn't know their practice rounds. The temperature hits 122 degrees Fahrenheit. Sailors faint from heat stroke. Carbon dioxide levels rise so high that decision-making drops by 50%. And for 4 straight hours, 4 hours, explosions shake the hull. The captain, Valentin Savitsky, snaps. He believes World War III has already begun. He screams, and these are his exact words. "We're gonna blast them now. We will die, but we will sink them all. We will not become the shame of the fleet." He orders the nuclear torpedo made ready. To launch the torpedo, all 3 senior officers must agree. Savitsky says yes. The political officer says yes. Only one man refuses. His name is Vasili Arkhipov. While the others panic, Arkhipov stays calm. He recognizes that the heat and CO2 are poisoning everyone's judgment, including the captain's. He argues, "We must surface and confirm the situation. These could be practice charges, not an act of war." His vote is the only no. The torpedo stays in its tube. Here's the part that will make you say, "I never knew that." The US destroyers had no idea B-59 carried a nuclear torpedo. They thought it was a regular submarine. One of the destroyers, the USS Coney, even flashed a Morse code apology. Sorry for the plane's aggressiveness, but B-59 couldn't hear it underwater. Another destroyer had a jazz band playing on deck to signal they weren't at war. Savitsky eventually understood, but only after Arkhipov stopped the launch. The entire crisis was a misunderstanding that almost killed us all. B-59 surfaces. The crew is confused, embarrassed. They realize war never started. The Soviet Union hides the story for 30 years. Arkhipov returns home without a single medal, no headlines, no interviews. He dies in 1998, never knowing that historians would one day call him the man who saved the world. In 2002, 40 years after the crisis, his story finally becomes public. Today, there are still thousands of nuclear warheads in the world. Submarines still patrol the oceans. The same mistake could happen again. A wrong signal, a panicked commander. But Vasili Arkhipov proved something. One calm person can stop a disaster. He didn't save the world with a weapon. He saved it with a single word. No. If you want more untold stories from the Cold War, the real ones they don't teach in school, hit subscribe. This is the Gridded War. Every week, we uncover the forgotten heroes who changed history. See you in the next one.